To me, I think leadership is all about bringing out the best in the team and individuals within that. I guess it's sort of creating an environment which allows players to feel comfortable and thrive. And I guess setting an example, or trying to set an example for everyone to follow as well.
What makes a good leader?
I think it's different for everyone, you know, there's certainly different styles of leadership, and there's not necessarily a right and a wrong way of leading. I certainly feel you've got to be empathetic, you know, you've got to be approachable to your teammates. I guess it's always beneficial to be able to lead from the front as well. But I guess it's all about, you know, how you go about things, you know, the effort you put in, and I guess you can't expect anything from other people that you're not willing to do yourself. So trying to create an environment, you know, that allows others to feel comfortable is very important.
How easy is it to build the relationships with individual players and know what is going to make them a better player? Some people like the hairdryer treatment, some people need an arm around their shoulder. How fine a balance is that?
It is tricky because, you know, within a team you've got very different characters, you know, and that's great, that's exactly what you want. But again, I think it's important that you treat people, you know, on an individual basis, and different things are going to make different people tick, and that's why it's so important, I think, from a leadership point of view, to really know your teammates and know what sort of gets them going. And I certainly think that helps from a captaincy point of view.
Conversely, what makes a poor captain?
I guess the opposite of that. I think it's someone that doesn't necessarily, you know, fully understand their players. But again, as I said earlier, you're going to have different styles of leadership. You know, some leaders are going to be a bit more outspoken, abrasive, and that's absolutely fine. Others are maybe going to go about things in a slightly quieter manner. I don't think there's a right and wrong, but I guess, yeah, what's important is that you stay true to who you are as a leader.
From a leadership point of view, who had the biggest influence or made the biggest impression on you, and why, pre-professional cricket?
Prior to sort of becoming a cricketer at Somerset, I'd say, you know, my family were probably the biggest influence on me as a person. I guess the values that they instill in me, and, you know, how they go about things as well. I was very lucky. I had sort of some great influences in terms of like leaders and coaches at my school as well. Sort of too many to mention, I guess, but yeah, I'd say sort of my family and my brothers as well, because, you know, they were sort of leaders and captains in their own right in school sport. So, but then sort of moving into cricket, I would say, you know, the likes of Trez and, you know, Hildy were always big role models for me from a cricket point of view. But I think possibly the biggest influence has been Azza on me as a leader, because I look at the sort of person that he is, and, you know, his values, what he sort of invests in cricket and in life as a whole, and just how he goes about things sort of day to day, I think was really inspiring for me. The other name I'd mention also is Chris Rogers. Sort of tactically, you know, he was brilliant for a young captain like myself. He was really helpful in terms of, you know, the intricacies of captaining out in the middle.
You mentioned that you were made captain at a young age. What have you learnt about yourself as a cricketer, and potentially more importantly as a person, since getting that captaincy role?
I think possibly I'm, you know, more resilient than maybe I initially thought. I don't think you can ever sort of fully prepare yourself for what to expect when you get the captaincy. And as you say, sort of I was relatively young and inexperienced when I got that opportunity. And without a doubt, you know, you experience adversity, you go through some tough times, and that's the case even when you know the team's doing well. You know, there's still tough periods within that and tough decisions to be made that don't necessarily get any easier. But I certainly feel probably that, well, I've been learning on the job, I guess, for the last few years, and, you know, always evolving as a leader. But yeah, I certainly think I'm maybe more resilient than I thought.
You mentioned some tough decisions there. What's the hardest decision you've had to make since becoming club captain?
There's probably two that stick out for me, and the first one would obviously be dropping myself in my first year as captaincy. I was desperate to, be someone that led from the front in terms of performance, and that certainly didn't happen in my first year. And it was a really tough place to be because I wasn't the leader that I wanted to be in the team, and ultimately, it resulted in me sort of losing my spot, which is something that had to happen. And as I say, I think maybe sort of made me a better player and a stronger character. The other decision that I found really tough to make was leaving Don Bess out after he just sort of made his England debut against Pakistan, I think, and he came back. We were playing Worcestershire away, and I think it was his birthday actually, and we went with a decision just to play the one spinner, and we went with Leachy. And I'm very close with Bessie, he's one of my best mates, and sort of to have that conversation with him was really tough, particularly given that he'd just done so well for England. But I guess, when you get made captain, they're the sorts of things you sign up for, and you just got to go with what you believe in ultimately.
What advice would you give someone on becoming a successful leader and having to deal with those tough decisions and come out the other side?
Be honest, stay true to yourself. I think you've got to trust in your gut and your instinct, because a lot of the time that's right. But have conviction in everything you do. As I say, people I think are more receptive to honesty. They don't want you beating around the bush. And when there's tough decisions to be made, of course, people are going to be disappointed in that moment. But I think over time, hopefully they understand the reasoning, and ultimately you can only make the decisions in the best interest of the team, and you've got to go with what you believe in.
Do you feel that the leadership skills that you've developed over the last few years and are continuing to develop are going to benefit you in your personal life and a post-cricket life?
I hope so. Well, hopefully that's not anytime soon, but you never know. I like to think that the skills that I guess I'm developing as a leader will stand me in good stead. Equally, everyone's going to have a different sort of perception of leadership and how important it is. And I do feel very fortunate here. I've got sort of a great team around me and fantastic teammates, which as a captain, makes my job a hell of a lot easier. But yeah, there's certainly some skills that I think will stand me in good stead. I think it's all about, as I said earlier, getting the best out of a team. And that can be any environment. Often the skills, I think, cross over. So yeah, time will tell, but I like to think so.
Do you think a team can be successful without a good, strong and competent captain?
That's a good question. I'm going to be slightly biased as a captain, and I'll say no. But I think often, there may be a captain, but often you can have a number of leaders within a team, and I guess the strength of that team is the leaders within it. And of course, I'm lucky enough to be captain of the club here, but equally, there's a number of guys that have hugely influential from a leadership point of view. So I don't necessarily see it as, just myself out there leading the team. I think there's a number of guys that are sort of always in my corner helping me out. So I guess that's probably the beauty of where we're at as a team and as a club at the moment, is we've got a number of leaders that are having an influence on the team.